Last night, the latest iteration of the Trump purported travel ban was set to go in effect at midnight, but it was enjoined temporarily by the federal district court judge in Hawaii. And I think it's worth digging into the contents of the order that was issued because it gives some insights as to how this might play out going forward legally. So first, in order to establish that a claimant has standing to assert that they've been harmed by this order, they have to establish standing, and the state of Hawaii is one of the entities that sued here. So they argue that the university recruits students, University of Hawaii, that is, recruits students, permanent faculty, and visiting faculty from the targeted countries, meaning the 6 countries that are targeted by the order. And students or faculty are suspended from entry, are deterred from studying or teaching at the university now and in the future, irrevocably damaging their personal and professional lives and harming the educational institutions themselves. So the argument that underlies this order that was issued is that the University of Hawaii system has been victimized by the order. The order then goes on. It currently has 23 graduate students, several permanent faculty members, and 29 visiting faculty members from the 6 countries listed. The state contends that any prospective recruits who are without visas as of March 16th, 2017 will not be able to travel to Hawaii to attend the university. As a result, the university will not be able to collect the tuition that those students would have paid. So one of the arguments here is that the state of Hawaii is actually incurring a financial loss as a result of the order because they're not able to take in future tuition payments from people who might have attended who hail from these particular countries.
So let me jump in there real quick because what they're trying to do is they usually weigh both sides of an argument. So the government says, hey, look, we have a lot to gain from doing this travel ban. We're going to protect the country, et cetera. And it doesn't burden the state of Hawaii too much because we're just keeping out the bad guys. So the reason that they're mentioning how much the state of Hawaii is burdened is to show, no, this has actual real ramifications on the people of Hawaii, the state of Hawaii. So the government, the national government is not correct on that, and the judge is agreeing with that portion.
And this is really important because the judge writes that these types of injuries, the ones that are described by the state of Hawaii in their claim, are nearly indistinguishable from those found to support standing in the Ninth Circuit's decision in Washington. So remember, the previous version of the travel ban was struck down by a federal court judge in the state of Washington, and it was struck down on almost indistinguishable grounds as were the reasons why this particular version was struck down. So although the Trump administration tried to modify the language of this version of the ban, the underlying reasons why it was found to cause unjustified harm are still there, notwithstanding any adjustments they may have made.
And let me explain standing super quick. If you're not related to the case, you can't bring the case forward. It might be that the government has done terrible damage, but it hasn't done it to you, and so then you wouldn't have standing. So this is the court saying, no, it has done it to the state of Hawaii, and it did it to this particular claimant in this case as well, and that's affected by it. It's a citizen of Hawaii that helps sue. So they have standing, they've been injured. We can hear this case.
Besides the obvious moral and what's right ramifications of this, it's also encouraging to the left because it shows. I mean, they took like how many weeks? 2 weeks to redo this, right. And they still can't get it right. I mean, during the campaign when people would be hollering and screaming, I kept saying, well, half the shit he's trying to do is illegal. So, not to minimize the things he's trying to do, but it just shows the incompetence because they went back to the drawing board and many, like an amateur lawyer could find loopholes in what they're trying to do.
And the excuse I love at the end, after several excuses the government went before, they were, when Judge Watson rejected the government's argument in a court that they would have to investigate Donald Trump's veiled psyche to understand whether or not this was religious animus. Like, that's how far they're going. They want to hire a psychologist to investigate what his intentions were. I mean, is that a ridiculous argument? How often is something like that brought up?
So let me explain that as well. So why are we talking about Donald Trump's psyche here? Because, and it goes to what Jordan said too. Look, all right, so they've got standing, and one of the plaintiffs here is an individual named Ismail El Sheikh. He is the Imam of the Muslim Association of Hawaii. which I didn't know existed, but I guess that makes sense.
Founding member was Barack Obama.
We are kidding. So we've got standing, we've got real injury here, but is the government right that this is a perfectly fine test to make sure that America is safe, or is it actually a way to keep out Muslims? And so Trump's administration is arguing, like, you're trying to figure out if Trump actually means Muslim ban when he says travel ban. So you're trying to get into his veiled psychology here. That's ridiculous. It's not a Muslim ban because we didn't say that it was a Muslim ban. We just said it was a travel ban. So you got to take us at our word. So that's when Judge Watson then responds, the person who made the ruling here. For instance, there's nothing veiled about this press release. Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. He's like, you don't have to be a pop psychologist to figure out what that means. Right. So the judge's ruling here is very important because he's saying, look, we know that Donald Trump said he wanted to target Muslims. In the first version of the bill, they said that Christians would be favored over Muslims. That's totally unconstitutional. You cannot do that. That's a religious preference that is not allowed in the United States Constitution. So now this is the second version of it, and the judge is saying, what? If you told me all over the campaign that you wanted a total complete shutdown of Muslims, and then you did one where you favored Christians over Muslims, let alone all the other problems that the bill had. Now you give me this bill and say, no, this one's fine. Because they did take away Christians being favored because it's so unconstitutional. They're like, that's never gonna get through court. So they took that away. And then they go, now don't read into my psychology. And the judge is saying, it's not psychology, we can all see it. You wanted a Muslim ban, this is still a Muslim ban. And by the way, it doesn't mean that this judge is going to win at the end. As I told you yesterday, at the end, you can go to a court that is conservative court or a mixed court, and they could say, well, you say tomato, I say tomato. It doesn't say they're banning just Muslims. It no longer prefers Christians over Muslims. So I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna read it on its face and say, I guess he thinks those 6 countries are really dangerous. There's no evidence to that either, but I'm gonna take him at his word. That is possible, but these 2 judges, not just in Hawaii, but one in Maryland as well, said, we're not buying it.
And the point and that's exactly the point the judge was making. He was saying it's not required that you do any kind of excessive interrogation of Trump's motives to know the motives that underlie this order, because it's normally discouraged for justices to get too in-depth into trying to discern remote psychological reasons why someone might do something. But Trump stated plainly, and this is in graphic 34, skipping ahead, he said during an October 9th, 2016 televised presidential debate, quote, the Muslim ban is something that in some form has morphed into an extreme vetting from certain areas of the world. So Trump explicitly said that this notion, which would plainly violate the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, banning on the basis of religion, was simply going to morph into another version with a little more neutral language that doesn't immediately present as targeting Muslims, but that's what it does in effect. And if you look at the next slide, Stephen Miller articulated exactly that during a televised interview. He said, fundamentally, despite technical revisions meant to address the Ninth Circuit's concerns in Washington, you're still going to have the same basic policy outcome. So the point is that notwithstanding any changes they might make to the legalese here, the motive has already been established based on these people's public statements. So there's nothing that they can really do to make this pass a constitutional muster, according to at least this one judge.
And so now we're gonna give you Trump's video in a second and show you how badly he botched his own case after this decision, because what they're weighing here, as we've been explaining, is does the government, the Trump administration, have a legitimate grounds for this, or is it an illegitimate purpose of an unconstitutional religious test? So it doesn't help when Stephen Miller says, yeah, we're just doing the same thing as the last time when we did the religious test and we preferred Christians over Muslims. It doesn't help, and it was actually presented in court when Rudy Giuliani said on Fox News, and they showed the tape of it, Giuliani saying, hey, you wanted a total and complete shutdown of Muslims and asked me how to make it legal, so we came up with this. Like, so then the judge goes, okay, but that goes, see, I told you, it's to discriminate against Muslims. So Trump, since he's infinitely stupid, comes out. Now, if you're a smart person who wants this in place, you would come out and say, this has got nothing to do with discrimination. And that first version that clearly said we prefer Christians over Muslims? No, we didn't mean that. We're doing something else entirely here, right? So did he do that? Let's go to tape and find out.
Makes us look weak, which, by the way, we no longer are, believe me. Just look at our borders. We're going to win. We're going to keep our citizens safe. And regardless, we're going to keep our citizens safe, believe me. Remember this, I wasn't thrilled. But the lawyers all said, oh, let's tailor it. This is a watered-down version of the first one. This is a watered-down version. And let me tell you something. I think we ought to go back to the first one and go all the way, which is what I wanted to do in the first place. The danger is clear. The law is clear. The need for my executive order is clear. I was elected to change our broken and dangerous system and thinking in government that has weakened and endangered our country and left our people defenseless. And I will not stop fighting for the safety of you and your families, believe me. Not today, not ever. We're going to win it. We're going to win it.
Okay, so
And he admitted there that he acquiesced to lawyers over his judgment. So that's not really strength, is it? If he felt so strongly about the need for that initial order, why didn't he stick to his guns?
that's certainly true, but this goes to the heart of the case. Because yesterday I said he'll probably win at the end because it no longer has the religious test in the text of the law, right? But now, after I said that, he goes and gives this speech and says, no, I meant the religious test. This is just a watered down version. I prefer the first version, which is the real version. Well, then they're going to put that into court and you're going to lose, you knucklehead.
But that's why his stupidity might be the saving grace of all of us. Because remember, I mean, he said during the campaign so many things he was going to do illegally. He said he was going to kill people's terrorist families too, which is very against international law. So he said all these things. So when he tries to do certain things, it's already on the record. And then, like you said, he'll go back and say, oh, we should have stuck with the first one. So yeah, it's not just like the fact that he's politically incorrect. No, you're stupid. You don't know what you're doing, and it's coming back to bite him.
Corporate media is awesome.
Wrong.
Independent media is the way to go.
Believe me, believe me.
Support independent media right now. Become a Young Turks member. TYTnetwork.com/join.